Clarksville, Tennessee.
Like the last train to?
That's right.
Here.
We are in front of the Cumberland River. This is near its confluence with the Ohio. It's largely a karst river. It runs through a lot of limestone basins, lots of caves, springs. It is, every cave I've ever been in, not that many people have been there before you, if any. Sometimes we find new caves or new passages in caves where we are pretty confident no one's ever been there before, and it's the ultimate exploration left on land. You find cave art, footprints. Sometimes miles back in a cave, you'll find barefoot footprints from people 10,000 years ago. It's pretty awesome. You sit out with night vision goggles and you have a clicker in each hand, and one for multiples of 10, one for multiples of 100, and you just kind of sit out and watch the bats fly over you, and inevitably they're discharging their pellets as they're coming out. So guano and urine is kind of getting showered on you at some of the larger caves. It can be a bit unpleasant, but at the same time it's an incredible sort of wildlife scenario to see tens of thousands of bats coming out.
So how many at a time do you see?
It varies. At some of our grayback caves, it's incredible. 150 to 200,000 can come out within about an hour period. Sometimes 1,500, 2,000 per minute coming out of a cave entrance. It's a lot.
And they're pooping on you.
Absolutely, yeah.
You want to tell me that?
It can be raining guano as you're counting these bats sometimes.
Like right in your face and stuff?
Absolutely.
Tell me
Yeah,
that.
you learn pretty quickly to keep your mouth closed. And knocked on the door, met the landowner. He was a very charismatic and interesting gentleman, but he allowed me on his property and told me I could go in his cave just to not mess with any of his stuff. And I got in there and I realized he was a bit of a doomsday prepper. He had all kinds of stuff in the cave, and he was ready for whatever was coming. He was ready. But in addition to all that, there was a marijuana lab. He had grow lights and buckets of marijuana, and I ended up canceling my bat survey, and I just kind of figured that wasn't the place for me to be.
Why do you think he let you down there?
I have no idea. He must have figured I've got a beard and maybe I'm cool. Once I got in there, I didn't know what to think, why he would let me in there, so I just left. Haven't been back since.
Is any of this dangerous?
Well, cave work is inherently dangerous. A rock was dislodged from further up on the ceiling and fell down on one of my colleagues and sort of crushed her leg and pinned her there. And she was unconscious, and we were able to get her out of the cave and to a hospital within a few hours. But it was very scary. It was not easy, and she actually almost lost her leg.
I mean, does your mother or something say, this is kind of dangerous, no?
Yeah, I mean, definitely I have a loving family, and sometimes they think I'm wacko, and you can't tell them everything you do. If I told my wife or my mother-in-law, everything that I did while I was working in these caves, I would never hear the end of it, and I'd have to quit and find something else to do. So some of it's between me and the cave.
For example?
I've been stuck. I'm not a small gentleman, and on a lot of these cave trips, I'm generally the gauge. So if I can make it through a hole, then generally the other folks along with me can too. But sometimes I don't. So I've been stuck on a few occasions. I've not had any, luckily, really bad or close calls on rope, but that is the most dangerous time is when you're doing vertical work on rope. Some of these caves are 100, 200 feet deep, and it's very dangerous. You have to be very cautious, careful, and trained in what you're doing.
What's the most surprising thing you've learned?
Ooh, the most surprising thing I've learned. I don't know, maybe the level of intelligence of bats. I mean, bats are really, really smart. So they definitely have they have senses that we don't have and we don't fully understand. So they use echolocation. We know a little bit about that. But you know, a mother bat is able to come into a cave of 500,000 bats and go straight to her pup. And you know, we'll put up nets and sometimes or a harp trap at a cave entrance, and the bats come out, take a look at it, and go right back. I mean, they're incredibly smart and intelligent, which makes them just that much more of a challenge to study.
And is there anything else underground there that we're looking at?
Oh yeah, caves are incredible ecological systems. They're very nutrient poor because there's no sunlight, there's no plant life, but you have these really interesting organisms that are adapted to cave environments. So the group of organisms that are cave adapted we call troglodytes, and they tend to be really small, but at the same time they're very long-lived. So they have these really low and slow metabolisms. They live a long time. For example, a cave crayfish, a surface crayfish here in the river might live 3 to 4 years tops. Cave crayfish, 70 years plus, no problem. And it's incredible to go in these caves and see something like, a crayfish or a spider or a millipede that is older than me. It helps add to the feeling of insignificance that we all deserve to know.